From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Preserving pasta perfection.
Torre Annunziata era un po' la capitale della pasta.
Tour the final factory still preparing pasta the old way. Plus, giving the gift of fresh produce.
We're coming up on over 100 million pounds of food rescued and redistributed to over 1,000 community organizations across the United States.
How this nonprofit is helping to get fresh food in the hands of hungry people. And the Cattle on Feed report catches some attention as President-elect Trump takes on Panama.
The fees being charged by Panama are ridiculous.
Trade back in focus today on AgDay.
AgDay is brought to you by Pioneer. Pioneer brand corn has game-winning statistics like a 10 bushel per acre yield advantage. Pioneer brand corn, your best year starts here.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. In less than a month, President-elect Trump will officially take office. But he's already making waves on trade, including questioning the recent increase in fees for shipping companies to use the Panama Canal. Now, the president-elect making those comments during a recent speech in Arizona. It was one of a number of issues, but his concern in Panama is the increase in fees. Now, the U.S. remains the top user of the Panama Canal, followed by China.
The fees being charged by Panama are ridiculous, highly unfair, especially knowing the extraordinary generosity that has been bestowed to Panama.
Now, next week, on December 31st, the Panamanian government is set to celebrate 25 years since the United States handed over control of the canal. Panama's president reacting to President-elect Trump's comments, saying a 1977 treaty between both the U.S. and Panama recognized the nation's sovereignty over the canal.
That is a manifestation of gross ignorance of history. So, all those speculations and all that range of eventualities that are not going to happen, well, I leave them there as totally irrelevant issues and quite bordering on historical incoherence with what the Panama Canal has been, is, and will be.
Now, he says the fees are charged according to the size of the vessels that cross, also highlighting recent channel improvements that allow for larger ships to cross. Now, the Panama Canal has seen its fair share of issues in recent years, from supply chain clogs following COVID-19 to a drought-induced slowdown of ships that were allowed to cross each day. Now, President-elect Trump also nominating Kevin Marino Cabrera as U.S. Ambassador to the Republic of Panama. Cabrera is a Miami-Dade County commissioner. Also on the trade front, the U.S. Trade Representative's office says the U.S. has won its dispute with Mexico over GMO corn. Now, according to Catherine Tai, the U.S. challenged Mexico's genetically modified corn ban under the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement. Now, the country's previous president had issued a decree banning GM corn imports in early 2023. Now, a dispute panel has officially ruled that Mexico's ban violates its commitments under USMCA. On Thursday, AgriPulse reported that Mexico's new president, Claudia Sheinbaum, will indeed reverse the GM corn import ban, opting instead to put limits on Mexico's own domestic production. Bird flu is still having an impact on poultry flocks, cattle, and dairy farms, and it's continuing to spread. Currently, nearly 900 herds across 16 states have tested positive. And now a Portland-based pet food company is issuing a nationwide voluntary recall after a house cat in Oregon died from eating one of its products. That product tested positive for bird flu. Meanwhile, in neighboring Washington state, bird flu killed more than half of the big cats at an animal sanctuary.
We've lost 20 cats due to this virus or symptoms thereof of this bird flu virus. And you think hopefully it's a bad dream, but it's not.
It's unknown how the animals contracted the virus. The cattle market is still in contraction mode. That's the takeaway from the latest cattle on feed report from USDA. As of December 1st, the agency counts 12 million head on the nation's largest feedlots. That's slightly lower than December 1st total of last year. Placements were 1.8 million head, down 4% year over year. Marketings of fed cattle total 1.73 million, down 1%. Michelle Rook joins me. And Michelle, this report did grab some attention from the trade.
Clinton, while the December USDA cattle on feed report overall was considered neutral for the market, there were some strong trends that emerged in the state-by-state numbers. The breakdown shows the shift in cattle feeding to the northern feedlot areas versus the south, a trend that was exaggerated this year due to the closure of the border to Mexican feeders. On a state-by-state basis, placements of cattle into feedlots as of December 1 declined 20,000 head in Colorado, 45,000 head in Texas, and 39,000 in other states, while they increased 15,000 head in Kansas and 20,000 in Nebraska. One market analyst tells me the shift in numbers this month isn't unusual, as the North finishes more long-fed calves in the third and fourth quarter.
The on-feed numbers in Nebraska were 101 and Iowa 103. Versus the two big states, Texas at 99 and Kansas at 97. And carry that into how did we get there? Well, the placements in Nebraska 104, Iowa 103. Kansas was on par with 104, but Texas only 88%. And there's probably a sub-story to the Texas thing, but that's down quite a bit on that Texas placement, Michelle.
However, the lower placements in the South, especially in Texas, were higher than normal this year. It coincides with the border closure to Mexican feeder cattle tied to a case of New World screwworm on November 22nd.
Even though the border had been only closed for maybe 10 days, maybe not quite, the placements of cattle under 500 pounds were down 12% in Texas. Placements of cattle that weighed between 500 and 600 pounds were down 15%. So you already saw a glimpse of it. Depending upon how long it takes to get reopened. And then.
So CORMA expects more of the impact to show up in next month's report in the form of lower placements and on-feed numbers, especially in the South. I'm Michelle Rook reporting for AgDay.
Temperatures might be mild, but several parts of the country could see some active weather this holiday week. Meteorologist Alyssa Heilman joins us with more.
That's right. Definitely a rainy couple of days expected for parts of the Midwest and for the South. The only one that's expecting to see some snowy days for the holidays is really just out into the west in the mountainous regions, in portions of Oregon and portions of Nevada as well. But again, just rain for the eastern half of the United States. That's starting in the south, a system that started in the south, then moving into the Great Lakes area, bringing precipitation for a lot of the Midwestern states. That moves northeast, up and out. Then going Saturday into Sunday, another system emerges out of the south, again bringing some rain to parts of the east coast and parts of the Great Lakes states as well. So expecting a definitely rainy couple of days for the eastern half of the United States, and some snow again in the mountainous regions on the western half of the United States. Going through Sunday as well, you're seeing more of that rain hitting the east coast for portions of New York and Washington, D.C. And take a look at this cute fella, Clay Scott from Kansas on X, sharing this video. He says this bottle calf, number 117, is all business and making a mess. Temperatures are cool, but he's eating well, easily drinking a full bottle twice a day. We'll have more on your full forecast coming up.
With corn above $4.50 and soybeans in the 9s, is there a case for strength in the grain trade? We'll discuss it coming up next. And later, we're off to the streets of Italy to see how one historic pasta maker is fighting to keep tradition alive in the country.
AgDay is brought to you by Pivot Bio. Protect yield potential with a new mode of action in nitrogen. See how Pivot Bio fits into your fertility plan at talknitrogen.com.
Grain's fighting to shake off a pre-Christmas slump as corn attempts to trade above its 200-day moving average. Michelle Rook joins us once again with a post-Christmas Markets Now.
Grains closing higher on Thursday. Garrett Toyag, Trader Talk, is back with analysis. Garrett, corn, what an impressive move, closing with a 6-month high there with a kind of a chart breakout.
Yeah, the highest level since June 26th today, and yeah, it's a nice breakout. It's been for the day after Christmas. We have elevator customers, we have farmer customers Probably one of the busier days we've seen. Farmer movement has been fairly active into the elevators, and we've been active on the phone side. And that might be a little bit evident by the front end weakness in the corn spreads. In March, May, corn spread was off 2 cents the last couple of days. The front end spreads are weaker, but it does seem like the farmers are rewarding this rally, and finally, potentially, if we can see some follow through here, some confirmation or some rewarding of the demand market we've been in since harvest.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, do you think we can build on it? What's the tendency here historically?
Well, around the holidays, it's not great. We've rallied March corn the day after Christmas each of the last 5 years. However, the last 3 years, we've been unable to follow those rallies through the day after New Year's. So, if you want to follow those type of seasonals, I'd probably be a seller in here, at least make some sales. 453 type March corn is where we're trading here into the close. May is finally above 460. So those are some new price levels for a producer who need, if they need to advance cash sales, can take a look at.
And some good gains in the soybean market. Is that like end of the year short covering or China, or what moved that market?
It looks like a reversion to the mean trade. We're right here at the line where we broke out of it, this 990 in Jan beans, and we're getting into delivery, so we have to switch over to March. But it'll be very interesting to see what next week brings, because either this is a retracement for the bears to either they sold into the hole here on the breakdown, or this is just a typical retest of the breakout. If the bears do defend this level, this could mean that we could head back lower. But this 990 level on January beans, $9.98 to $10 on March are some key levels. Whether the bears or bulls want to defend these levels.
Thanks so much, Garrett Toy, Ag Trader. Talk Lab AgDay coming up.
Well, we've talked about those warm temperatures, and they're really sticking around for the day today and into the weekend as well for most of the United States. Seeing just some colder areas in the Northwest, in some of those mountainous regions, seeing 45 in Salt Lake City and 45 in Billings for the high temperature today. But again, most of the United States is much warmer than normal. Temperature in Chicago, 49 degrees, St. Louis, 56 for the high today. So all of these temperatures like 20 degrees above average for this time of year, which is usually in the lower 30s. So definitely very warm temperatures. New Orleans down there, 81 degrees for the high in this late December day. Now going overnight, we've got our temperatures for tomorrow morning. Again, warmer than normal. Of course, those morning temperatures a little bit chillier, but still above average for what we would expect lows to be for this time of year. Seeing 32 in Billings, 33 in Denver, 37 in Amarillo, and then again, some areas warmer where we're seeing this green, 52 for the morning temperature in Cincinnati tomorrow morning, 45 in St. Louis, 43 in Memphis. Going into tomorrow, another warm day. This is likely going to be the warmest day for most areas of the United States until they start dropping back down into Sunday. A high of 58 degrees in St. Louis, 51 in Chicago, seeing a lot of 60s across parts of the East Coast, 59 in Richmond, 72 in Wilmington, 60 in Atlanta. So a warm couple of days are headed for us. Temperature outlook for January 2nd to January 8th. We're seeing some colder temperatures in areas of the southeastern United States where that blue is colder than normal, and then some warmer than average temperatures in parts of the southwest, of course, where you're seeing the orange and the red. Precipitation outlook for that same time period, seeing some wetter than normal conditions for portions of the northern, northwestern parts of the United States. Anywhere you're seeing the green or the light green, they're wetter than normal, and then drier than normal in parts of the southwest. Of course, you're seeing those lighter brown colors, drier than normal for this time of year. Moose, Wyoming, we've got a high there of 30 degrees, low of 25, snowy conditions. Frogtown, West Virginia, high of 54, low of 50. Finally, we've got Salmon, Idaho, high of 36, low of 26, snow showers there as well.
'Tis the season of sharing, and that's exactly what one organization in New York is doing with produce. The Packer's Jennifer Straley explains.
Sharing excess is fighting hunger. one apple, orange, and bag of lettuce at a time. The organization rescues and redistributes over 1 million pounds of food every week in partnership with grocers, wholesalers, and farmers. From its facility at the Hunts Point Produce Market in the Bronx, the organization helps bring fresh fruits and vegetables to underserved communities across New York.
It's been an incredible year. This past year has been our most impactful one yet. We're coming up on over 100 million pounds of food rescued and redistributed to over 1,000 community organizations across the United States. Now, this may be product that it's just there's too much of it and there's not enough time to be able to sell that product before it perishes, but it's still perfectly edible to feed people right now.
While any produce that doesn't make the cut goes to compost, Ehlers says there's much more good than bad, which means fresh food for people in need.
Everything else that is edible, we redistribute that out to frontline hunger relief organizations that are working across all 5 boroughs in New York City, really creating a process and a program that can distribute and make this food equitably available for as many families as possible.
Sharing Excess works with organizations from churches to shelters to food banks to senior living facilities to redistribute nutritious food.
And what we're really excited about is partnerships that can help break the cycle of poverty, where one day people that are relying on free food can one day get to a point of stability where they have the financial independence to be able to go and even maybe provide food for others. We really love this idea of sharing excess being a reciprocal process over time where people can get the support that they need and then be able to lift themselves up and their communities over time.
While Sharing Excess also rescues dairy and meat, the majority of food it receives is fresh produce, which Ehlers sees as a positive.
And we're really happy with that because it's fresh and healthy food. And that's something that has been missing from a lot of community organizations' inventory that they're distributing.
And while rescuing and redistributing fresh produce is important all year long, at this time of year, increasing access to fresh fruits and vegetables is particularly critical.
We definitely see an increase in our work around the holidays, and all of the support, all of the generosity makes such a big difference during this time.
Up next, a trip to find the perfect pasta in Italy and how modern production is forcing some of these heritage pasta companies to close in the country.
Watch Markets Now with Michelle Rook on the Farm Journal YouTube channel, keeping you updated throughout the day on the markets at the open, midday, and close. Find out what moved the markets today and what to expect the market to do next.
Durum wheat, mostly grown in the Dakotas, is a key ingredient in pasta, but mass-produced pasta is threatening the world's smaller shops that still believe in the old ways. Antonia Mortensen recently traveled to Italy to learn from a factory nearly a century old.
This was Italy's first pasta production hub, where pasta producers known as pastifici started making artisanal pasta commercially and exported it all over Italy and made it famous across the world.
Queste sono delle foto antiche di Torre Annunziata. Si vedono quei marciapiedi talmente larghi, ma non perché doveva passeggiare la gente, ma bensì perché a Torre Annunziata veniva essiccata la pasta per le strade o sopra i terrazzi. Il nonno con la sua caparbietà ha comprato questo stabile nel 1939. Torre Annunziata era un po' la capitale della pasta, perché c'erano più di 110 pastifici, grazie proprio al clima mite e alla posizione geografica che si trova.
Here at Citaro, Vincenzo still uses the same techniques passed down from his grandfather. First, the durum wheat is mixed with water. It then flows through a funnel and then into a mold to form the pasta shape. The pasta is then placed on racks and moved through a furnace, after which it is taken to special drying rooms.
Noi abbiamo 2 macchine di produzione del 1930. Oggi fanno 200 kg di pasta in un'ora. Una macchina moderna oggi fa 40.000 kg di pasta in un'ora.
Today, Citaro is the only pasta producer that survived here. Industrial mass production in other parts of Italy forced the rest to close.
Partiamo da una materia prima di qualità, quindi semola di grano duro. E poi, come le ripeto, è tutta la trasformazione che è ancora fatta artigianalmente.
Sataro pasta is exported and eaten all over the world at gourmet establishments. By preserving their family's artisanal techniques, Vincenzo Sataro has been able to keep their art of making pasta alive.
Antonia Mortensen reporting. And that's all the time we have this morning. For Ag Day, from all of us here, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day and fun country.